with senior executives on both the nonprofit and for-profit side, and I look at what their marketing objectives are. So I look at whether the nonprofit is trying to raise more funds for a particular service. On the for-profit side, they're looking to raise brand awareness, what they do in their community, and to sell things. So they have marketing objectives. I put those together into a cause marketing campaign. I bring the partners together, I make them understand what the goal and what their agendas are, and then we go out and we do something good for the community. So the secret to cause marketing, which is what I do and what I'm passionate about, is that it has to have a greater good beyond it. It has to be those two organizations that get a lot out of it together, but by coming together, they create something that neither one could have done by themselves. I have a very different story than Holly does, and it's good for you to see this, because when I was in college, I had no clue whatsoever what I wanted to do. I had lots of different interests, like I'm sure all of you do, but I just, as far as a passion to do something and I'm going to be whatever it was, I didn't have it. So I'm kind of perplexed when I stand up in front of especially college students that are bright and headed into careers, and I look out and I'm hoping a lot of you have, as my brother did. He wanted to be a lawyer since he was 10. He went on and became a very successful lawyer, and I was always jealous because I didn't have that sort of passion. But I want to tell you a little bit about my story, and I'm going to start at the beginning, and then I'm going to jump to what I'm doing today, because the beginning was very foundational for me. So I graduated from Ohio University, and I'd gone to a fancy prep school for 4 years before that, and I did pretty well at OU. And I graduated, and I went away to my first job, which was to be a ride operator at a large amusement park in Sandusky, Ohio, called Cedar Point. My father was really pleased with that decision. Really pleased. 4 years of prep school paying, 4 years of college paying, and Bruce is going to be a ride operator at an amusement park. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. I really didn't. But I fell in love with the idea of working with people, and fell in love with the fact that people were coming through this amusement park and they were with families and friends, and it was just, I really, that was it. I went on to be offered this job as public affairs manager with Marriott Corporation at 24, and I came out here to Santa Clara, California, and I designed, and it was just an amazing opportunity, to open the Great America Park. You're probably all familiar with, and many of you probably have gone to it. Well, I was in charge of the one here and the one we built in Chicago. Now, I didn't, hire the employees and put the rides up, but I was in charge of the marketing, advertising, the opening, promotion. So that was going along really, really well. I was really excited about working with Marriott. It's a new project. It's the biggest thing they've ever done in their life, and I was passionate about it because it was helping people, and we were doing promotions. And then this thing called the Olympics was coming along in 1980 in Moscow. Make a long story short, I was hired by the United States Olympic Committee in 1979 to work for them to develop public relations, celebrity relations, I think it's on my card up there, and cause marketing. Now, this is before there was a term of cause marketing, which is what I'm going to get to in a minute. So needless to say, I was really excited about that. Here I am, 27 at the time, and I'm now the Director of Public Relations for the United States Olympic Committee. So I'd gone from having no clue what I wanted to do as a sophomore in high school and college to 7 years later, I had those three amazing jobs. But I wasn't jumping around, is the point I want to make. I was making strategic decisions on what I thought was the best opportunity, and in that case was being handed to me. I thought them out. My dad used to always say, put a line down the middle of the paper, yeses on one side, nos on the other side, and make a decision based on what you came up with, and then trust your gut, which I have always done. I have never stayed at a job or in a company for more than 4 years. My mind moves too quickly. I get too excited about things. I get too passionate about things. Something comes along, most of which now are my ideas, and I'm off and I'm trying to do it. Some have worked fabulously and some have bombed, but they've been great experiences, and I only have myself to blame for it. Now, my wife has been with the same law firm. I was kind of thinking what Holly said about for 31 years. My wife has been at the same law firm for 36 years. I've had 12 jobs. So she just, and those are the ones I tell her about. So we have a very different approach to business. It's kind of funny, but wonderful marriage, and it works probably because of the opposites. So I'm going to jump forward because in the meantime, between that early experience and where I am today, I've worked as a consultant for Fortune 500 companies. I worked as a consultant to the president of Xerox for 2 years, right, one-on-one, very interesting job. I've been with small nonprofits and very large ones. You saw some pictures up there, and I'm going to give you a quick example of something. I was director of marketing for the American Red Cross. And so I've worked with startup companies, about 7 of them, 3 of which were my own, and very large corporations, Fortune 500, nonprofit, for-profit. But through all of this, I learned that what really, really turned me on was looking at those that needed something, especially those that were economically disadvantaged or physically disadvantaged, such as Special Olympics, which I've spent many years working with. That was my passion, was building something and trying to make something a little bit better in this world. So the whole corporate social responsibility and all the stuff that's kind of the big thing right now, I find I'm a little bit sarcastic about it, because I think if you don't have it inside, to start putting it on the front of your annual report and saying, look how good we are, it just kind of rubs me the wrong way, because I know an awful lot of people that have been doing these kind of good things for a long, long time. So I want to fast forward, because about 1.5 years ago, I was sitting back between assignments, as I like to call it, and I was saying, okay, what am I good at? And what do I really want to do? And I said, well, you know, I can't be a professional tennis player. That's what I wanted to do earlier for a little bit. So, I mean, seriously, what could I really do? And I said, well, I love putting together partnerships. I've done this all through my Marriott days and Cedar Point days and Great America days, and I founded an agency in San Francisco, and PR advertising agency, and we built partnerships between nonprofit and for-profit organizations. I felt really strongly that, hey, you know, I know something about this. I've been on the management side of all of these things. I've been on boards, I've been blah, blah, but I've been around all aspects of that equation when you bring a nonprofit and a for-profit together and form what's now called cause marketing. And so I decided that maybe I should really look into this. And coincidentally, 1.5 years ago, the United Way of the Bay Area came out with a report. And it said that 1/3 of all nonprofits in the San Francisco Bay Area were going to be out of business in the next year. 1/3 of them. Well, that, if you did the math, was over 1,000 nonprofit organizations. So that hit me like a ton of bricks. It really, really hit me. And I said, wait a minute. I've been on all sides of this. I've got a passion for people that are having a little tough time. And one of the dilemmas of this economic downturn is that when the nonprofits get less money, what happens is that their services are under just attack. They need food banks. We've all heard about food banks having a problem. The homeless shelters, I'm involved in the homeless shelter project in Marin right now. The services are needed more when the economy goes down. So it was this real dilemma. And then so I started going out and doing all this research. I talked to Ann Wilson, who's the CEO of the Bay Area United Way, and I realized that from my experience and from the research, that nonprofits and for-profits are not talking to each other. They're really not talking to each other. And they don't know how. There's a lot of misunderstandings. I did a survey which I call the Burtch report for the last 2 years and found out that they just don't even say the same language and they're afraid to talk to each other. And I said, well, you know, I speak that language. It's not rocket science. It's just understanding relationships. It's building relationships. So I made the decision that I didn't want to form another agency. Done that, don't want to do that, because it wouldn't leverage my experience out to enough places and enough people. So I decided that I would present and I would teach, very similar to Holly. I would teach so that I could reach not just 4 or 5 clients, but literally hundreds of organizations and potentially thousands of organizations and nonprofits and for-profits. So cause marketing is a partnership between 2 or more for-profit and nonprofit organizations. 2 or more, that's important. Where each party receives benefit for their individual marketing goals. So it's not a donation, it's not a sponsorship. It's a benefit for each side. And here's where my definition differs from anyone I've ever seen in this industry. While striving to create a greater good through their combined services. So to me, the magic in partnership, the magic in cause marketing, is that your focus is on what can I do for the people that will be benefited from this partnership. Now in these, the nonprofit is usually looked and seek funding, in-kind donations, public awareness, technical expertise. They're looking to their partner to get stuff that they don't have. And the for-profit is looking, of course, for sales, increased brand recognition, enhanced public relations, employee morale, leadership opportunities, etc. So the point is they both have objectives. We put them on the table, we bring them together, we say don't hide anything because it will come up in a partnership. If you want to make a lot of money by working with the Red Cross, tell me that right now. We'll see if we can work it so we make a lot of money. The Red Cross wants to train a lot of people. That's their agenda. Put it on the table. We'll see if we can do that. Don't go into a partnership with any hidden agendas. So I'll run through these. Tom's Shoes, they have a thing called BOGO, buy one, give one. Cause marketing at the best. And this is one of my favorite ones. On every St. Patty's Day, St. Baldrick's is a program that's given more money to children's cancer research than any other organization in the world. You get your head shaved that you pay for to get your head shaved, and all the money that you pay for goes to St. Baldrick's. Now, I always say that when you build a cause marketing program, you need to be really engaged. Can you imagine being more engaged? This, by the way, was Miss Kentucky after the Miss America pageant, who said if she got $250,000 in pledges. This is obviously a gorgeous woman. It has this amazing hair. She would shave all of her hair off, which was kind of her trait. And she shaved every bit of it off for this program. So she's engaged. The salon keepers and the salon people are all giving of their time. All the money went to children's organizations because it was focused on the kids. It was focused on cancer research. That's cause marketing. So I'm going to run through very quickly a campaign that I designed for the American Red Cross. The idea was to prepare the Bay Area. There were only 6% of Bay Areans prepared for any kind of a disaster. 6%. I mean, it's like crazy. We all know about it, right? We all know there's going to be a flood, or there's going to be an earthquake, or there's going to be a tsunami, literally can come in here. All this stuff, but no, we know about earthquakes. 6%. So I designed a campaign what's called Shock and Awe, and it was really about what do we have to do to get your attention. This was a partnership between PG&E, who wanted people to know more about what to do in a disaster, and the Red Cross that wanted to teach how to be prepared, especially life-saving preparedness. So we want to grab the public's attention, show the consequences of a major disaster, provide very clever, this is probably my specialty, in-your-face, see-it, scare you kind of stuff, because you got to wake them up a little bit. Provide easy-to-find and free preparedness tips, and offer Red Cross emergency preparedness training, and we did this all over the Bay Area. So we held a press conference and we announced that there had been 8.1 earthquake that had hit the Bay Area. This is what went out. We did a billboard that was 22 feet long and 13 feet high. If you look at it closely, there's a crack running right down the middle, and every building in it's destroyed. And there's fire, there's cars, it's phenomenal. This went around the world. Absolutely, this is in Tokyo. All over the world this popped up. London. The blogs went wild. As a matter of fact, my favorite one with the blog came out and said, Cool Hunter said, when did the Red Cross get so cool? I really liked that because a lot of people back east did not want me to do this campaign because we were going to scare people. But what happened with this? We raised over $1 million in partnership funding. We created over $3 million in free publicity, and this is real because you can measure this. Marketing coverage went all over the world. We won an international award for it. Red Cross reestablished itself, which was one of the underlying campaign ideas, as the leader in preparedness. And the partner PG&E received not only tremendous media coverage, but to their goal of getting people prepared. But what's the most amazing thing about this campaign? 3 years. We trained 1 million people in the greater Bay Area. That's about one for every household. So why does cause marketing work? It leverages the marketing clout connections of 2 or more organizations. It focuses on doing good, and the public wants you as a corporate citizen to do good. It draws media attention, in our case $3 million of it, and it delivers what one can't do alone. PG&E nor Red Cross, Marriott nor the March of Dimes. Hundreds of examples of programs I worked in could never do this alone. They did it because they were working with a partner. And when it's done right, it's not a win-win. Everybody wins. So let me just end with what I'm doing now. I've started a nonprofit organization called 10,000 Partnerships. And our goal is to have, at the end of this, at some distant time, form 10,000 partnerships. So this is what I want to do for the rest of my career, and I hope it's a long career, is to form these partnerships by having an on-site workshop, online training classes, resource center with all sorts of information, and working with all these different tremendous subject matter experts from all over the country and around, some of them will be around the world, who all believe that one of the most important things we can do today is to build partnerships between sectors. We can pull many, many nonprofits out of their economic doldrums. We can create sales for the for-profits who want to sell their Campbell's soup. 14 million cans in 1 month. So this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, really, really works. I want to end with something that has been on my wall for about 30 years. It came from my dad, and he was an amazing role model. And he gave me this saying when I was right out of college, and I just want to leave you with this today. I shall pass through this world but once. If, therefore, there be any kindness I can show, or good thing that I can do, let me do it now, for I will not pass this way again. Thank you.
I heard a great quote after I started Three Twins. It said, you know, when you start a business, you should either know everything there is to know about the industry or know nothing at all and go into it fearlessly. And I think I thought I knew everything as a 28-year-old or 27-year-old, however old I was. But in hindsight, I feel like I knew just about nothing. So I kind of went into it just saying, I'm going to start this great earth-friendly organic ice cream company and I'll figure it out along the road. And that's basically what I've had to do. Fortunately, I haven't had any major blunders. I haven't risked the company or anything like that, but there have certainly been some challenges along the way of just, you know, not having a great deal of resources, not having a great deal of knowledge, but going fearlessly into the world, starting a company.
So that was filmed, I guess, about 2 years ago, and at the time we were in the process of opening up what is the world's largest dedicated organic ice cream factory, which sounds fancy, but it's only about 4 times the size of this room. But it's still a nice thing to say. And you know, my story is just really one of following one's passion. But it's not that I loved ice cream, which I like ice cream. It's not that I was necessarily in love with green businesses. I think it's important to be green, or that I was just absolutely, you know, destined to be an entrepreneur. Really, for me, it's just a passion for plotting and scheming, which is something I've always found myself doing. And you know, when you're working for somebody else sitting in a cubicle like Gap, you get in trouble for that. So I really wanted to liberate myself and leave and do something different. So when I was 27, I just decided I'd go out on my own, and, you know, who cares if mom and dad are gonna lay up at night worrying about whether or not I'd have a job, and go start my own company. And as a side note, now mom and dad both work for me, so it seems to be working out. You know, I started Three Twins really with the goal of making good organic stuff accessible, because I feel like so much of what's out there in the world is just smoke and mirrors. It's just the marketing guys without hearts, giving you messages and making you believe that, or trying to make you believe that things are something that they're not. So my goal with Three Twins is really to make good organic stuff that leaves out the crap, use good local organic ingredients, and make it available for a fair price. When we were growing up, we were definite coupon clippers, and mom always bought whatever was on sale. So we mostly had pretty crappy ice cream. And you know, I feel it should be a human right to make good organic stuff free of chemicals, free of fillers, free of, to use that word again, crap. Am I allowed to say that on public TV? Crap. You know, make that available to the world. So that started with one little scoop shop, which was the first shop shown in the video and my measly $75,000 in life savings, which sounds like a lot, but considering that a Cold Stone costs $300,000 to open it, there's some serious plotting and scheming in order to get that open. But it strangely worked out, and we went from 1 store to 2, and from 2 to 3, and then open up this factory. So besides having the major accomplishment of having one's parents work for him in life, we're doing pretty well. We have the factory open, and with that, we're now selling ice cream up and down the West Coast. And the same ice cream that we used to sell for $6 per pint and lose money on, we're now able to sell for $4.49 a pint at grocery stores and actually have a nice margin on, and find ourselves reaching out and plotting and scheming, getting more products out there. So we're going from the original 4-pint flavors that were shown very briefly in the video to we have 8 out now, and we're adding 2 more, plus we're adding single-serve cups and family-size containers in 2 flavors this coming spring. So really launching ourselves from this little punk ice cream shop up in Terra Linda to building a national brand with just about nothing other than some plots and some schemes. So
I'm lucky enough to know what my passion is and to be pretty good at it, but I think I still work for somebody else. So I think for me, the fear comes in leaving that job, the plotting and scheming and the cubicle, been there, done that every day, right? And so you can only do that so long working for someone else, but I think that's sort of what stops me sometimes. And not that I'm afraid that it won't work out, but I think it's just taking that leap in such an unknown territory in this economy, and it's expensive to live there.
And there's nothing wrong with stability. I definitely yearn for that cubicle and the 3 weeks of paid vacation and the expense account from time to time. So it's not necessarily for everybody, and there's no shame in getting a paycheck. Like my twin brother and his wife, people always ask if they're involved in the business, and the real answer is that they have real jobs because they have that stability in their lives, which works for them, and it just wouldn't work for me. So you just have to figure out what's right for you, really.
Well, I look at, as I mentioned, with my wife, when she was a single mom, 2 kids, 1 and 3, when she and her husband split up, and she had worked for this law firm in San Francisco, and there was no way that she was going to leave the stability of that. And then she marries this crazy entrepreneur type, and it was interesting trying to put that together, but I totally respected the fact that she also would never live my lifestyle anyway, but she had to do what she had to do to take care of her family. I have a son-in-law that's moving to Pittsburgh with my stepdaughter and our 2 grandchildren because he has this phenomenal opportunity. But one of the reasons he's moving there is he's a software engineer, and he can buy a house and he can establish his business in Pittsburgh, which was rated the #1 city in the United States to live, by the way, 7 years in a row. But he can do that better in Pittsburgh. So for what it's worth, don't let geography rule your dream. You don't maybe want to live in the top of Minnesota, but no offense, but especially not right now. But I think you can do it here, but it's a crapshoot. Who's kidding who? I don't know how many scoop shops may have opened before this gentleman, Neal, figured out how to make it work. Or how many restaurants. There's an 85% mortality rate in the restaurant business. So it's tough being an entrepreneur out there. But it's also got a lot of benefits when it works. So I would say never give up your passion, but you have to just look at it from all sides. Is the lifestyle, I'm 60 years old and I work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Now, do you want to do that? Maybe when you're 20 and 25 and 30 and 35, I'm still doing it. And I'm not complaining, but I don't know many of my friends that are they all think I'm nuts. But I'm passionate about this thing. So it's a lifestyle that we've all decided that we will put up with not having some things to have the freedom and the passion about what we're doing. But I just, like my dad would, he said, put everything on a paper and make a decision. And this was my decision.
Getting yourself involved, going back to your comment, in the business sector can be pretty scary, and I would think that it takes a lot of courage and passion to just take that first step. If you guys could define that, I don't know, like something that made you, like gave you that strength to risk more or less everything, kind of leave everything behind and take that risk, a huge risk. What made you take that first step? Not everyone has strength to do so.
Yeah,
We'd all take that one.
I think that's addressed pretty well in the clip that they showed of me saying, I thought I knew a lot, and then I realized, even today I feel like now I know very little. But it's also important to remember you're not risking everything. You might be risking some material things, but you're not risking your person, you're not risking your relationships necessarily. Maybe you are when you lose your wife's house, but
No, it's my house.
or
If I lost her.
but it's just it's all part of the journey. So you can't risk everything unless you're in the circus on a trapeze or something. But so you're risking some material things, but so what? You're young, you're smart. You will never be as young as you were, but you can always go get a real job and earn those things back.
I'd like to address that a little bit, because I think that what Bruce said is that there is a mindset to be an entrepreneur. If you are an entrepreneur, sometimes, it's cotton. It's pretty good. Silk even. It's great. I went around the world. I was on a 5-star trip. I'm sitting in the front of the plane. And now I'm out of work. And that was last month or 2 months ago, whatever. It's like, so then you got to create it all over again. And so the word that you used, I think, is really important for you to actually look at that word, which is risk. If you're risk averse, don't be an entrepreneur, because the entire thing is about risk. The whole deal. And it's also about faith. It's really about believing in it and being able to see it when you can't see it. When it isn't visible to you, but you see it. And then it manifests. And sometimes it does it in a slower time frame than you would like. And I just keep looking at it all the time still. I keep going, well, I've been doing this for 19 years, so I guess it's going to work.
Let me just interject on that. I would absolutely say if you've got the passion to do it, you've got to try it. Or I'm telling you, you'll look back on your career and you go, geez, I wish that idea I had 20 years ago about opening up a scoop shop. You don't want to do that. You don't want to look back and say, I didn't try it.